round 4 of the Shannons Nationals. Welcome back to sunny Queensland Raceway. We just had qualifying for Car Sales TCR Australia Series, so I thought why not catch up with Russell Ingall, who we're having a bit of a chat in the break. He looks a little bit tired. It's a bit hot out there, isn't it?
I'm not about tired. I'm buggered. I know that. Yeah, what a cool session. You know, we were sort of halfway through. We were second most of the session. I'm thinking game on here. To my young French teammate there, and who did a wonderful job, by the way. Excellent considering his first time here. Mind you, he's won the races in the World Touring Car Championship, so I think he's a bit of a gun, or World TCR Championship. Fantastic. It blew me out how quick the times were on green tyres. I mean, that's getting down to some of the lap times what the supercars race in. To get into 12s, that's pretty cool. Everyone thought these were going to be 4 or 5 seconds slower than the supercar around Ipswich. They're right on the pace. But it's corner speed. They're so fast through, especially through 1 and 2. It's like you hardly button off. Fantastic. So I really enjoyed it, but I tell you what, I had to get up on the wheel because when they said there's only a 10th in it to get to pole, all of a sudden it spurs you on a bit.
Great to see you're enjoying it. Good luck for the race later on this afternoon.
Oh, we're enjoying it. It's only just started.
Thanks, Russ. Cam?
Great to hear from Russell Ingall there. I've got Molly Taylor with me down now. Molly, had a few dramas yesterday. Are you on top of them after that qualifying session?
Yeah, it looks like we've got some fuel pressure back, which is good. So yeah, just I felt like I was driving on the edge everywhere, but it's not good enough, so I need to work out what it is and try and do better.
It was a very tight session as well. On a track like this, we kind of expect it. From someone with a gravel background, a rally background, it's a whole challenge again when you're playing in the tenths and hundredths.
Yeah, completely. It's just it's so precise and learning how to get the speed out of the car even when it feels fast. Right now, I feel like I'm on the edge everywhere, but probably not in the right way. So I need to work out what actually gets the lap time, not what feels fast and cool inside.
Oh, well, get the elbows out for racing, Mol.
Yeah, we'll try.
All right, good luck. Let's go up to commentary.
Thanks very much. Down there, Cameron, with Molly Taylor, and she will find her way around the TCR cars, no doubt, an absolute talent behind the wheel. The DEA Performance National Sports Sedan Series, the big bangers, the gods of thunder we like to call them here at the Shannons Nationals. Darren Smith here with Gary O'Brien. Gary has seen just about every sports sedan race north of, below the equator since the late 70s. Gaz, great to be back at QR. A very small field, unfortunately, of sports sedans, but what a quality bunch.
It's very competitive, Daz. Good morning, everyone. Main reason for this is there's a state round in New South Wales. There's other cars committed elsewhere, but what we do have is probably the creme de la creme of the National Sports Sedan Series. We had a few dramas yesterday. Shane Woodman had a suspension collapse on that BMW. He starting from the rear of the grid after missing qualifying. We had Shane Bradford, we all know, had an unfortunate rollover at the bend at the last round just a matter of a few weeks ago. They've repaired that Camaro, got him back out here. He had a little journey down into the bunker at one stage there in practice too, generally because they're having problems sourcing the brake pads that they normally get, but they seem to think that they can manage what they've got now. We also had a problem for Jordan Caruso in the Audi Chev, which had an electrical bug in P1, didn't get any laps in, so he's a little bit behind the 8-ball game, but certainly now is well and truly on the pace.
Yeah, talking about the quality of this field, I guess there's maybe 1, 2 or 3 that are kind of missing. Thomas Randall springs to mind, being the lap record holder, and did really well here at this round last year, and of course did a fantastic job at Tailem Bend. Tony Ricciardello, old 10 times in his Chevy-powered Alfa Romeo, will be on the front row of the grid from B&M Ricciardello in Western Australia. And he's had some work to do since the last round at Tailem Bend. Second, right next to him, and a familiar sign in Australian sports sedan racing, the Alfa and the Audi, whether it be Darren Hossack, whether it be Jack Perkins, or now Jordan Caruso at the wheel of the John Gourlay owned and prepared car. Jordan Caruso takes up position number 2. Shane Bradford, the Aston Air Chevy Camaro. And as Gary said in his opening words there, the car did have a rollover. It wasn't part of any racing. It was on a recovery phase after the final race at Tailem Bend. So Shane's record is unblemished. It was just a very, very unfortunate incident. Phil Crompton, this is the one to watch out for. Every time we come to QR, watch out for that orange Mustang right there on the second row of the grid. On the third row of the grid, Michael Robinson, the number 32 from Bell Real Estate, with his, I guess his namesake, the other Monaro, right alongside of Colin Smith. And this battle seems to have been going on for about the last 7 or 8 years, doesn't it?
It has two Monaros, very different in their configuration. Certainly the silver car has the engine pretty much forward of the firewall. The red car has it right beside the driver. So two different trains of thought on how to build a sports sedan, and they produce much the same performance.
Warren Wadley, his first time onto the national sports sedan scene here, so we wish him luck. He takes up position 8. Then Tony Cox, who hasn't made it out in the Saab, unfortunately, and Shane Woodman, who had some pretty serious issues yesterday with front control arm or shock mount. They're not sure. It just did a whole lot of damage. But well done to Liam and the guys down there from Riverside to get that car back on track. It's an absolute jet. Won a Victorian Championship a number of years ago now. As we get ourselves set for race number 1 for the weekend, the DEA Performance National Sports Sedan Championship, and we are underway. Tony Riccatello gets away nicely. Have a look at that Mustang. Tries to split the two there between Bradford and Caruso, but can't, gets held out. Bradford holds a beautiful line there. Caruso crowds onto the corner, gets pushed out wide, and it is Phil Crompton, the mover there. But have a look at Tony Riccatello. He's got himself 3 or 4 car lengths through the first 2 corners, and he's driving away nicely. Gaz, have a look at that Mustang. It's being monstered now by the Audi.
Yeah, giving away about half a litre to the Chev-powered cars, 5.5 litre for the Ford Mustang, but it is a lighter engine. It sits lower in the car, so what he lacks in brutal horsepower, he makes up in drivability.
Certainly the way it stands on the ground, the split of weight. Have a look at this. Look at the 6 litre Chev. Just gets underway. Gee, the Mustang's got a good set of brakes on it. Goes nicely through there. Then it's going to be Michael Robinson in the Bell Real Estate car. He's onto the back of Jordan Caruso. Those 2 cars travel up together in the truck, so it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. The 32, then it goes back to Smith and the Landau Signs BMW of Shane Woodman. Shane, you would have to suspect, is just feeling this car out. He did get 1 discretionary lap this morning to make sure the wheels didn't fall off, but he will be certainly in these first couple of laps. It'll be a bit of a journey into the unknown for him. Once he feels the car come back underneath him, he'll start to get on with the task at hand.
Well, priority 1 for Shane, of course, is to beat this guy we got on screen in Michael Robinson. They've had a rivalry. It's gone back years, and it continues to this very day. Very friendly rivalry, I must say, but out on the track, they're out to beat each other. That's their first priority.
It certainly is, as we've got good shots there of Bradford. He's currently in P2 and doing a nice job there, coming under attack with Phil Crompton. His home round here, of course, he journeys all over the countryside with the DEA Performance National Sports Sedans. Was instrumental back in the era of the Kerrick Sports Sedan Series as well, was Phil, and he really wants to get through on this Camaro. That's your genuine sort of Aussie rivalry, isn't it? A bit of General's product versus Ford there in 2nd and 3rd, but out in front it is Tony Riccatello. Car number 5 is desperate to peel that number 5 sticker off and have a look at the number underneath it, the number 1 that it has been for so many years. The interesting thing, the omission this weekend, is Steve Tomasi, the talented race driver out of Victoria, won last year's championship and hasn't ticked the box of joining this round.
Yeah, unfortunately they had an engine fire right at the end of the last race down at the bend, and they haven't had the time to fully repair that car. Obviously Tony Riccatello also had problems, dropped a valve with about a lap to go. He said if we had to go another lap I wouldn't have finished, but they've rebuilt that engine, rebuilt that car as a matter of fact between the bend and coming up here, and you can see what good work that's done. The interesting thing about this great battle for second, they're both Trans Am spec cars rather than sports sedans. The second place car, the Chev Camaro, built by Riley and Scott in the late 90s. And then, of course, we've got Phil Crompton's, an Aussie-built spec Trans Am car, obviously built a lot later in the noughties, and introduced some newer technology. But right at the moment, they're certainly under some sort of pressure as Jordan Caruso finds his way around this car and this circuit. Never been here before.
Of course, ran really strong at tail and Ben got to the line very well at the end of the weekend. And he is just getting himself used to it. He said to me this morning, I've just got to get the head around this track. It's very flat, except you've got to set the car up for the turn in right there, and he's driving around the outside of that little dip that is forming here at turn 1. In fact, all the sports sedans are. He said it nearly threw him off the track yesterday in practice.
Well, the other thing too, he's mindful it isn't his car. He's driving the car. Look, he lines up Crompton as they go down the back straight and just whistles his way past, gets on the brakes and will take over third position as they go down to turn 3.
Gee, I tell you what though, Phil Crompton gave him just enough room there. He almost peeled the sticker off the side of Crompton's car. He just about had a number 12 on the side of the number 4 there. So he's gone through. Interestingly enough, the different nuances of the Trans Am versus the sports sedan type of thing. This Audi has got the engine quite a long way forward, similar to the way the Trans Ams do it as well, whereas the Alpha that's blazed away out in front with a 7.82 second lead at the moment has got that traditional style. Tony Ricciardello basically rests his left elbow on top of the induction system on that Alfa Romeo, but it is charging away. Here comes second place, Bradford, Caruso, then it's the Mustang, the number 12, and then we go to Michael Robinson in the number 32 Monaro, and he's got a very handy lead over the 44 and the number 16 of Shane Woodman in his BMW.
You'll see a change go down the back straight now as Caruso gets more and more used to these cars on these Hankook tyres. He'll find his way down. Will he get past before the braking area? He's very close, and he will. He goes under him, under brakes, and Shane Bradford would let him through there, no doubt, take that position away from him. So Caruso up to second. His times are coming down as well. Did a 9.5 on the previous lap, so he's under the 10s. Woodman, again, still at the back, but obviously, as you said, still feeling his way around. As far as Bradford goes, of course, a 10.2. 10.2's a quick time for this time of the day in that car.
Let's have a look at this guy do a lap of Queensland Raceway. A little puff of smoke out of the back. We don't want to see that. This car has journeyed to Tailem Bend, back to Perth. A comprehensive rebuild. There's a bit more, that's the use of the new fuel. These guys aren't using avgas anymore, so just glad we got a bit of a look at the colour of that smoke come out of the back of the car. So everyone's actually had to retune this year. There's been a lot of time spent on dynos, and that's what that smoke is, just getting out of the back, trying to make sure they're looking after the engine. They're probably not leaning them off as much as what they were with the avgas. So that's outlawed, and you've got to applaud the Confederation of Australian Motorsport for staying true with that. We've got to look after the environment as much as we possibly can. It is motor racing, but certainly we've got to contribute, and that's what's happened with sports sedans. We're starting to see some nuances of trying to tune the car with these new fuels, and this car's running the ELF racing fuel out of Europe and doing very, very well. But what a massive car. It's one of those cars, Gary, we've said when and or if it ever does retire, pull the engine out, put it in the new car and put it in a glass chamber filled with nitrogen so it doesn't ever get used again.
No, they'll probably keep the engine in it. I'd say they'll have another built by whatever replaces it at whatever stage they do that. Great dice going on now between Colin Smith and Shane Woodman for position 6. And Woodman trying to go underneath Colin Smith at turn 6. Doesn't quite get it done.
Shane Bradford now has found a good turn of speed, as has Tony Ricciardello. He's just gone the fastest first sector, so starting to feel that Hankook tyre come in on lap 6. It's a 10-lap race, so just watching that. Everyone's starting to dip down into the 10s now. Bradford, Crompton, Michael Robinson down into the 10s as well now, so he's finding a happy home there as well. So they are still all chasing that lap record, which was sent 12 months ago. Just over 12 months, 29th of July last year. Thomas Randall, a 107.32. It's a 107.725 for Tony Ricciardello at the moment.
And now down to turn 3 on screen. If you're on the live stream at the moment, anywhere around the world, you can see the BMW with Chev Power, a Monaro with Chev Power, and Colin Smith manages to hold on. Now Woodman goes down around the outside of him at turn 4 and finally gets the job done.
This car has
slips wide.
Yeah, this car has had its problems yesterday, and certainly over the last 2 seasons they've changed the aero package, trying to develop it to be more efficient through the air. It's vastly different to what it was when it won the Victorian Championship, even running a different style of NASCAR engine in it. So they're doing they've embarked on a program that hasn't been done before. They're running the sequential paddle shift gearbox in this car. So there's a lot of things that Shane is doing, Shane Woodman and his team are doing Liam working very, very hard in behind the scenes there with that card and within Sports Sedans as well, as we see this battle. This is for third and fourth on the road. Crompton has iterations for the last spot on the podium. Still 3 laps remaining, but Bradford will be feeling the heat now as that Mustang comes on. And have a look at now. Look at this. Michael Robinson in the number 32. Monaro from Bell Real Estate out of the Blue Dandenongs in Melbourne. A 1:10.25. He's the fastest out of these cars as we see the Monaro look down the inside of Crompton, had an off onto the dirt. Robbo sticks back with it and gets on through. That will certainly see if you like a red rag to a bull in the guy in the Ford behind him.
Yeah, Robertson was the fastest of the 3 of them on last lap. He's going to get caught up here behind the TA2 Mustang. And I think there might have been a little bit of get out of my way on that one, exiting that turn, and it's allowed Crompton to go back ahead of the pair of them.
So, well, all that hard work that Michael Robinson's done, he did set himself up behind that slower traffic, and unfortunately, he's lost the spot there to Crompton. Here is our race leader doing a tremendous job. This is absolutely one of the behemoths of world motorsport. This car and this driver, 10 national FIA championships, locks it up. You can tell he's going for lap records when all by himself with a 14-second lead. Last time round did a 1:07.725, and he is absolutely trying his hardest.
And we can tell you that these aren't ideal conditions for lap record times. The UV on the circuit at the moment will be fairly high. It's fairly warm out there. We're just watching Warren Wedley in the TA2 car going there, and we can see that Woodman is just ahead of Smith as well. So we are on the final lap, out of the final corner, coming down to take the checkered flag. No, he's going to hold off one more lap. So our timing had 1 lap to go, but now it definitely is 1 lap to go.
So this is Jordan Caruso currently in second place. He's got a country mile in front of him to Tony Ricciardello. Have a look at this, the Monaro and the BMW. These guys are fighting it out for 6th and 7th in this race, and you'd think it's the World Championship of Sports Sedans out there at the moment. These two having a ripping battle, similar to the battle we saw back in 2013 when Hossack and Ricciardello just went at it lap after lap. Probably not as intense as what that battle was back in the day, but certainly fighting it out. They're fighting themselves for a position on the grid in the next race. As here is our race leader, the DEA Performance, car number 5, leading the championship coming into this round, Tony Ricciardello.
Comes it out onto the main straight for what will be the checkered flag. Tony Ricciardello chalks up yet another win in race 1 of round 3 of the DEA Performance National Sports Sedan Series. Position 2 is still under question because Shane Bradford is there at the moment.
Jordan Caruso gets through into position number 2 in the Audi.
Position 3, I should have said, is coming down the line, and Jane Bradford will hold on ahead of Phil Crompton. Michael Robinson takes over position 5, and we look back to see where our 6th position is. It's Shane Woodman just ahead of Colin Smith, and nary much between the pair as they come out on the straight for the last time.
Just watching our race winner winding it down there in Tony Ricciardello. Gets through in the Alfa Romeo 6-litre Chevrolet powered. A very, very handy race victory there. Just about 15 seconds back to Jordan Caruso, who did fall back. Had to battle for a couple of laps to get back into P2, so it'll be interesting to see where he gets. His best time a 1:08.43. Tony Ricciardello's best a 1:07.75. We go back to Shane Bradford. Shane Bradford got a 1:10.24. Phil Crompton, Michael Robinson, Shane Woodman, Colin Smith and Warren Wadley as we go down to Emma Francesca in the lane.